I'd like to call this Saturday morning, April 16th, regular council meeting to order. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out on Saturday morning on short notice, but this is something that had to be done as soon as possible. We have an opportunity to receive around $1 million in grants for the Public Works building, so I'm going to turn the meeting over to Kurt Schroeder from Gilmore for a brief presentation.
Thank you. As Mr. DiGiuseppe said, this is an opportunity to utilize some funding that's been allocated to the borough towards the effort of constructing this Public Works facility. And our office has been working with the NRCS to develop a plan that has to be put into place that basically sets the guidelines for how this money can be used. And because the property is within a floodplain and because it obstructs the flow of water, this project is an eligible project to use this funding, and that's what this plan that we've been working on encompasses. And due to the time sensitivity of getting this approved and signed, that's why there's a meeting today. We've been working very hard with NRCS to get to this point. And so, as Mr. DiGiuseppe said, this is around $1 million that could be used towards this project. And hopefully, if Congress passes the budget and this money remains in place, it will be there when this project goes out for bid. And I know there's still some things going on at the federal level that could affect that, but we're hopeful that the money will be there.
And just to bring council up to date on this money only can be used for stormwater management. And the $2 million price tag that we have on the borough garage, half of the $2 million would be site improvements, bringing the ground up, deep foundations, all the things that need to be done, which this money would apply towards stormwater management. So if we're successful, and I think we're 99.9% sure that we're going to get this money for this borough yard, that means the borough would only have to come up with maybe about $800,000 to finish this project. If that's the case, we already have enough money in our capital improvement fund to finish this building. So again, it will be no cost to taxpayers to construct this building, which will be, a great thing for this borough. But we're keeping our fingers crossed. That's why we're meeting on Saturday morning. I know Maria said in her 41 years she never had a Saturday morning meeting, so there's a first for everything. I'm going to let the manager explain a little bit more about this.
The only thing I can really add is, again, the staff and everyone's been working very hard on this. These agreements were sent to us by the federal government on Wednesday afternoon around 4 o'clock in their finalized form, and they said the sooner you get them back to us, the better. So that's when I did call you, Mr. President, and you said try to set it up as soon as possible, and this was the earliest we could set the meeting up. So these are agreements that our solicitor has reviewed, our engineering staff has reviewed, and we're very comfortable with these agreements. If council approves these agreements this morning, we will FedEx all these agreements back to the federal government at the end of this meeting, and it should be there for them to proceed Monday morning. So that's the reason why this meeting has been advertised, and we're holding it here this morning. So that's all I can say at the moment. Mr.
Salerno, you have anything, because you've been dealing with this also?
Yeah, because I think some people may question, why we're doing this on Saturday. The Congressman Murphy, through Congress, got the borough 2 allocations. One was in 2009, one was in 2010, for the Otter Creek watershed, and it's specifically only for stormwater management and flood control. It's not for any improvements on the river, and we've been working on some kind of plan for a number of years. And when the borough decided that they needed to improve the public works facility, we asked the NRCS in Gilmore if any way we can use this money for that project, and the NRCS said yes, because we moved our public works building out of the floodplain up higher, okay, and that fell into the parameters of this grant. And if you look at the second page of the agreement, you can see that all the breakdown of the cost have to do with site improvements, drainage, moving the building, et cetera, but it's not to be used for actually building a building, okay? And like Ralph said, the NRCS is almost 99% sure they're going to agree to this plan, but we received notice sometime last week from the federal government that depending on what Congress did with the new budget, they may be pulling back some of the 2010 allocation, which is about half of this money. So they suggest that we get this agreement in place as soon as possible. And like Mr. Dillon said, they sent us the agreement on Wednesday. Here we are today. We're going to get this signed, FedEx it back to NRCS. They're going to have it in place, and hopefully, no matter what Congress does, that second part of that $1 million is going to be safe. So this is a great thing. It's just that we need to expedite it.
Kurt, that's all the stuff that's ready to go out today in a FedEx envelope. All I got to do is sign a ton of papers after.
Yeah, just a few.
Once it's approved. But again, I mean, if we can get this money, and again, no matter what building gets built at the Borough Yard, this $1 million needs to be spent, whether it's a metal building, whether it's a cinder block building, no matter what, we still need to do about $1 million worth of site work to prepare for this, and that would be, again, I mean, the taxpayers would have no cost to this if we can get this money. So, at this time, I'm going to ask council to make a motion on number 1.
I'd like to place on the floor a resolution authorizing Council President Ralph DiGiuseppe to execute the Pidcock Mills watershed agreement with the Natural Resource Conservation Service, U.S. Department of Agriculture, referred to as NRCS.
Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Polensky. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 2.
I also like to place a resolution on the floor authorizing President Ralph DiGiuseppe to execute the Pidcock Mill Creek Operation Maintenance and Replacement Agreement for works of improvement.
I have a second. Second by Ms. Rodriguez. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Under other business.
Mr. President, under other business, I request that we do a resolution authorizing filing of grant application for funding, design, and construction of Gateway Project or Route 13, a trail connection for the East Coast Greenway.
I have a second. Second by Mrs. Collin. Mr. Dillon, would you explain that?
Again, this is a time-sensitive application. A resolution has to be adopted by April 20th of council, so I guess it is fortuitous that we are meeting this morning. The East Coast Greenway Association, we met with their staff and their president about 2 weeks ago, and they would like to be part of our process because they feel that this trail along Old 13 is very important to them, part of their national efforts to have a walking bike trail from Maine to Florida. So they are very interested. They will assist us in filing the application, and I think they certainly, if anybody can get Conrail to move, I think this is the organization that'll help us get it done. So I would request that council adopts this resolution.
And this is from the old Route 13 and
The Gateway Project,
I mean,
yes, that we've been trying to accomplished for about 11, 12 years, and
Right.
part of the problem has been environmental issues as well as Conrail issues, so.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm going to open up public participation. Anybody want to comment anything on this side of the room? Anybody would like to comment on this side of the room? I don't know if anybody could see the picture that is behind me. Is the borough yard with the flooding problems that we're having, that we had down there. And that shows you when we got heavy rains or the river came up, the borough yard was usually under about 1 foot to 2 foot of water. And that's something that we would elevate this entire site to get it out of the floodplain. And again, that would have to be done through this grant application. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. I know the manager and the solicitor is working very hard on getting this money, and hopefully we'll hear something before our May meeting. So again, thanks. I want to thank council for coming out on short notice. I know Councilwoman Trinnell had appointment scheduled this morning, and Councilman Sabatini is away, so that's the reason the two of them aren't here. Mayor, anything?
Nothing.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. Thanks.